What exactly does this mean for Amazon, Walmart, Target, and others when there is still so much uncertainty about what is going to happen?
Well, Emily, you said it best. The big problem is uncertainty for all the retailers. They don't know what's going to happen. Tariffs are spoken about or tweeted about by the president quite frequently. We think there's going to be some sort of rapprochement between the US and China, and the market often reacts, and then we see nothing happens or things look like they might get worse. I was reading a note actually from Terry Haynes today. He's the head of political analysis at Evercore, and he said that he's putting it a 95% chance that this meeting between President Trump and President Xi on the weekend at the G20 is just going to be a grip and grin. It's going to be a photo opportunity. We're not going to see any kind of resolution, and that's exactly what retailers don't want. They want to see some kind of resolution. That's why we're seeing that report in the Wall Street Journal, is that they are trying to cover their bases ahead of this possible increase and expansion of tariffs in January. They're starting to look at their supply chains. I've been speaking to a number of retail CEOs in the last few months, and they're all saying it's the uncertainty that is making things difficult for them, but they're starting to look at their supply chains. They're looking at where they can make changes. They're looking at where they can change suppliers, but that it's not easy. It's very difficult to do that. Global supply chains are, of course, extremely complex, and it's something that they could really do without, quite frankly, Emily.
And Deren, as Emma said, it's the uncertainty that is the one thing that is likely to continue. So how do you expect this to hit the bottom line of e-commerce and retail giants like Amazon and Walmart?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting story, and there's a couple of different Amazon, Walmart storylines. So, remember, Amazon, for all its behemoth e-commerce dominance, still 68% of their sales come from third-party sellers, right? Which means that those third-party sellers have some really interesting decisions to make. If I'm a third-party seller on Amazon and the cost of my product is 10% higher now, do I raise the price of that product and make myself less competitive? Do I eat it in the margin? Do I stop spending less on advertising on Amazon, which is a multi-billion-dollar a quarter business for them now?
Yeah,
I think that's uncertainty that's really interesting.
So, Emma, walk us through this in the context of holiday sales that are happening now, deals happening now, trying to get all of this merchandise to customers on time.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So we've had a bumper weekend or holiday shopping weekend from Thanksgiving through to Cyber Monday. We saw millions of people shop online. We saw something like $8 billion spent online for Cyber Monday. So a lot of people saying that it was a great weekend, and there are very positive forecasts for the whole holiday season. So that's through November through to the end of December, expected to see sales growth of some 5%. But one of the things we also saw before the holiday weekend was we got a number of third quarter retail earnings reports, and one of the things that came out of that was a focus on inventory, and we're seeing that a number of retailers are bulking up their inventories in a way that we see quite often in the third quarter, but to a much higher degree. I've got a great chart for you which shows that Target's inventories are at an all-time high. They reached a record in the third quarter, so part of that is seasonal demand, but that is also them preparing for January, hoping to get a lot of products over in the States ready to be able to deal with any so they don't have to pass on increases in prices through January.
Let's talk about price, Deren, because these sales really are driven in part by price, and price wars right now are in full swing. How does this uncertainty impact the price wars?
Yeah, I think you have to look at it category by category, right? So you were mentioning earlier, there are private label categories that Amazon, like the Amazon Basics products and electronics, they are just dominant in that category. They've been less dominant in categories like women's apparel, which is a more decided purchase. And so if they are able to weather some of this storm because of their diversified revenue stream and say, I'm going to go after the women's apparel category, and I'm going to cut price on H&M and all the other companies that are actually have a much less diversified revenue stream, I think there's a real opportunity for Amazon there.
So that was my next question, is do you expect certain categories to be impacted more than others, and if so, which?
I do. I think the luxury, more decided purchases will be less impacted, right? An iPhone, right? If you're willing to spend $1,000 on an iPhone, you're probably willing to spend $1,100 on an iPhone.
Even if it's tariff.
Right? I think there are other categories like the low-priced women's apparel, right? Which an Amazon hasn't made good inroads in, or the lower-priced furniture category where Wayfair has grown 160% their online sales year over year, and Amazon and Walmart aren't doing quite as well. Those are the categories where I think the big giants have an opportunity to use this to grow their online sales over time.